Hello and welcome to the Pusha BW live sessions. My name is Rauna, your host for today. Now, before we even go further, as we all know, I believe the COVID-19 protocols require that we keep our masks on at every point. Oh, may you please sort that out. Yes. The COVID-19 protocols require that we keep our masks on at every point. We make sure that we at least have a meter in between us, which I believe is the case as we speak, and we sanitize. So may I please right now ask my guests to take your masks off, and shall we sanitize just before we get into our conversation?
Yes, please.
All right. So yes, let's do this. Let's do that. Okay, so yeah. All right. Once again, I'd like to welcome you to the Pusha BW live sessions. My name is Hana Dinve, and I'll be hosting you today. Now, first of all, before we even get into the conversation, the hashtag Pusha BW campaign basically encourages us to actively grow our economy by making sure that we embrace and we use our local products, our local services, as well as initiatives. And I think, you'd probably agree with me that one thing that I can commend Botswana for, especially over the last couple of months, is that we're going really hard at, using our local products and services as well as initiatives. Let's keep it up. Yes, to a large extent, it may be also because our borders are closed, therefore we've been forced to look within, but may we keep that up. Now, ladies and gentlemen, today on the show, I've got two members of the Forbes Africa 30 Under 30 2020 cohort. I'm talking about Africa's most revolutionary and disruptive minds. My guests here today are Ray Newman Ramatukwane. Hi, Newman.
Hi, Hawana.
Yes, he says he's an aspiring entrepreneur. And he's got quite a diverse portfolio. So I will not even go into it and allow him, to unpack that for us. And we've also got Rethobo Katola. Hi, Thobo, how are you doing?
Thanks for having me, Hana.
All right. He's the CEO and founder of Lion Tutoring, which is an education technology company. Now, gentlemen, first of all, before we even go into what you do, congratulations for being part of the Forbes Africa 30 Under 30 2020 cohort. I'm, curious, how do you feel just being part of such a prestigious list?
For me, it's an honor. To be part of the young, most promising entrepreneurs in Africa. It's basically a result of all the hard work that I've put in the last 10 years. And it really shows that we can export our talent as Botswana, as young Botswana, as young entrepreneurs. We can lead. We are now on a global platform, so it says the sky is the limit. You are part of the world, and just go out and show it.
It's amazing. And I'm also curious, how did this come about for you? Because, I understand luck is opportunity meeting preparedness. Were you always aspiring to, at some point, be part of this list? How did that happen for you? Or is it something that's just happened, and just by the grace of God, you found yourself there? Please just let us know. Basically, just let us know how it got to happen for you.
Yeah, well, nothing just happens. So it was, I'm sure Lee Newman would attest what it's where luck meets preparation.
Yeah.
So it's been, for myself, I knew about the Forbes 30 Under 30 about 3 years ago. And I always had, the Forbes 30 Under 30 for the past 3 years in my wall. So at the office, when you get into my office, the guys from the past 3 years are there. At my office, Kolaping, it's also there. So even when my wife, when we got the news, she was like, yeah, well, you've always been, aspiring to be on the Forbes cover magazine and also on the Forbes 30 Under 30. So it's a lot of preparation. It's a lot of, also just books, because there's a lot of things that they require. They require you to submit your financials, your audited financials. For us, it wasn't much of a headache, because we always audit our financials, we always have our business plans in place and everything. So for us, today was just preparation meeting luck, and we made it.
And here you are.
Yeah.
And what would you say? Because one thing that I also saw and appreciated about you guys is that you campaigned. You know what I mean? You put in the work. I remember I nominated both of you, whether you're conscious or not, but it also just comes to show, just how much work you put into, making sure that you campaign for this. Please let us know how you went about, campaigning for, eventually being part of this list.
As as far as, well, for us it was a first for our country. We didn't know so much as it was an exciting moment to be part of it. Funny enough, we got later to know that we didn't actually need to campaign. It was not based on anybody voting.
Yeah.
That's why the
Really?
platform was directed via email. So normally you wouldn't vote via an email. So like Tobo just said, it was more on how solid your submission is, how solid your business structure is. Do you have your proper financials in order? How long have you been operational? The social impact that you have done in your environment, in your country. But you know, like you were saying, we were already there excited about going for campaigns and getting our people to vote for us. So for me, I used all the business platforms that I have. I used my personal accounts, I used Twitter, and it really paid off. Like a lot of people were inboxing, and you know, it's in God's grace and people's positive energy that we did make it this far.
100%. We're rooted for you. And once again, congratulations. But now I think it's important that Botswana get to know exactly what it is that you guys do. And, you know, like you mentioned, it was only natural because of the amount of work that you've done and the impact that you've made, you know, that you made it to this list. So let's talk about Lion Tutoring. First of all, has tutoring always been, you know, something that you were passionate about as you were growing up? Did you have a tutor growing up? Why tutoring?
So I think, like I spoke earlier, that tutoring has come quite easily for me because I was usually a high flyer at school in terms of academics. I grew up with asthma, so I couldn't play sports. I wasn't the soccer guy, the rugby guy, so spent most of my time, you know, in the books. So it was easy for me to sort of get into this kind of business because it's a skill that I've always had. So I think, I remember at high school, I was actually given an opportunity to write my Form 5 exams, Kilimo Form 4, did my A-levels, then I went to study in Pretoria. But unfortunately at the time, the government hadn't sponsored me, so my parents were paying for my fees. So I got a part-time tutoring job from my second year of studies. So did that, second year, third year, graduated. Hakitlamo Botswana was the same thing, internship office, looking for a job. But I just sat down and saw, but you know what, I used to tutor in South Africa. There weren't any well-established tutoring businesses. So I decided, you know, let me take some students. 2 became 10, became 20. Then I had to hire other people. And somebody told me, oh, no, you can't hire people also in a business. You know, so I ended up having to register the business, and the rest was history.
Oh, wow. Now, you know, something that you mentioned earlier is that you're an aspiring entrepreneur. You don't want to be called an entrepreneur. So please unpack that for us. You know what I mean? Why? You've got quite a diverse portfolio. You know, you're running numerous businesses. So please just let us know exactly, you know, what it is that you do, as well as why you still believe you're aspiring when I believe you've made it.
Okay. I believe just like education, just like levels of education, entrepreneurship has standards. You would first start on an informal, like he was saying, he traded not having registered, later he got to know. You start at an informal base, you become a sole proprietor or an enterpriser, you move to being self-employed where you think you are in the business, but you can't actually take yourself from your business and your business will not even survive. And then there comes a part now where you start creating systems because you have started a business model that you understand so well that you can actually mold certain production lines, certain systems of how to govern it, and it can independently run on its own. I believe that's the level of entrepreneurship. That's where entrepreneurship is, where you can remove yourself for a certain period of time, and your business will still make the revenues that you would do even when you started, or even beyond. So why I'm saying I'm aspiring is because I can only, at this point in time, with even multiple businesses, I've moved from being dependent, or my business has been dependent of me. I've created certain systems that I think are still in a piloting mode that I can't ultimately remove myself like certain other big entrepreneurs that we know about. So the reason why I'm still saying I'm aspiring is because I feel I'm still on the way to become that doctor of business. So I wouldn't say I'm there yet, but I am not where I was before a couple of years back, but I'm still in the process of achieving that, because I can only move away from my business maybe, let's say, for a maximum of a month or 2 or 3.
Yeah.
After that, it's going to be a completely different story. Can I move away for a year? No, I can't. But entrepreneurs normally are able to do that. So hence why I say I'm not yet
You're
an
just
entrepreneur.
aspiring.
I'm on my way to.
And for the appreciation of our audience, what does Newman do? You know, I think a lot of us know us from Native Events, which is an event management company.
Yeah.
Now there's Pullman Holdings. There's just so much that you're doing. So I think just let us know, exactly what it is that Newman does.
Okay. I started my business journey, or falling in love with business at a very early age. I didn't notice by then. I was 7 years old when I used to sell artworks to my peers at school. I used to polish my siblings' shoes for a buck. I just loved money as I was growing up as a kid, more so that both my parents were enterprises. So at the age of 15, I got myself exposed to a book by Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Kid, Smart Kid. I read the book, never got to finish it, but the little that I got to read from it really changed how I perceived life and what I wanted to be. It's from that time that I knew that for me it was going to be very impossible to work for somebody. So rather than do that, I just need to start focusing on things that I'm good at. I was a high achiever also in school, your 48 points, or whatever the case, head boy. I've been in so many leadership positions. I was trusted with leading people. So when I finished Form 5, I was admitted at University of Botswana. Unfortunately for me, I didn't quite blend in with the system, so I ended up quitting university. The following year, I went for another university. I didn't like it. Then I knew exactly that you need to follow your passion, and my passion has always been in the forefront. I started a company in 2010 called Pullman. Pullman was to do logistics and transport. It was quite a capital-intensive business model, so I couldn't start it right away. And then 2013, after just being part of the party scene in Gaborone and the entertainment scene, I realized that there's an opportunity for me to actually be part of the next revolution of doing events in Botswana, the corporate space of doing events. I started Native Events with a few cash that I had raised with doing so many things with Pullman. So I was all over the place. You do t-shirt printing. You tell me you want supply of material, I'll just tell you I'll supply you, put a bit of markup. So I was all over. But that little cash that I raised led to the birth of Native Events. Time went on. 2015, I started a company with my now financial manager for all the companies called Paper Valley. It was more focused on small company accounting and business advisory trade. And then that was the third company. 2018, I started an agency called 52 Sundays. The agency was started primarily to support what Native Events was doing. So people knew Native Events to be a go-to furniture and hire. But we were more than that. We were able to conceptualize and build your event from scratch. So we had to do an agency so that you can go through the agency before you get the final product. So we will conceptualize with the agency, give you your idea, and then we'll give you the actual experience with now the final product coming from Native Events. And as we're doing corporate events over and over again, there would be bar setups needed. We would give other people a chance to work with us, but most of the time would have small companies failing their caliber of work. We would want to pass to our clients or the quality. And in 2019, Nuba was born. And it's to this date now that my portfolio sits on about 6 companies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. We'll get back to, these 6 companies and how they're functioning. And I know there's a conversation that we had off air before we started, diversifying as an entrepreneur. And we also spoke about how even Lion Tutoring has had to diversify as much as still within the same company. So let's just talk about, what you do as a tutor and how you've grown since the inception of the company. So just get us into tutoring first of all. I believe a lot of people would understand what tutoring is, but can you just unpack it for somebody who doesn't quite get the gist of it?
So basically at Lion Tutoring, we started off just tutoring primary school and secondary school, but we saw that there's a market for also tertiary school. We've got people who are bankers. They're eyeing a promotion. They want to move from their CIMA to ACCA or from AAT to ACCA. So it was a very lucrative market. Then we moved our head office to the CBD, just opposite the Institute of Bankers. And we have a lot of people coming through, by the way, they work during the day, about in the evening at Tahuira studies. They don't have enough money to enroll at your typical university. So that's why we had to diversify firstly. COVID happened. So when COVID happens, lockdown 12 o'clock, what happens? So we had to actually now move into online. So we offer online tutoring, and it's actually grown in a very funny way because our initial business model was to get tutors in different countries. Like we opened recently in South Africa, we had a few tutors, 5 tutors, Gauteng, Northwest, Mpumalanga, Limpopo, jalo. But we saw that actually people don't mind being tutored by somebody in Botswana. So actually now we were sitting at 300 staff complement, and now it's increasing because now we're able to tutor online. And with our e-commerce, we have a mobile app which is like Uber for tutors. So even if you're in the UK, you're doing IGCSE, you're doing A-levels, all you do is just go into the app. It will show you all the tutors, their qualifications, and star ratings. Same as Uber. If you've used Uber, you know what, if you are happy with your driver, you know, you give them 5 thumbs up. If you're not happy, 2 thumbs up. Then that sort of rating system allows us to get the best tutors to be seen all over the world. And then we do our lessons on Skype, on Zoom. And now with currently the data costs are now down, it actually affords our tutors to be able to tutor more students on our platform. So in terms of diversity, we're just diversifying within just our business model. So we have from primary school all the way to tertiary levels. There was a time also we had an influx of nursery school students because nursery school. So we had to sort of merge it with the concept of babysitting. So a mom would go to work and the tutor would come through. Obviously would follow all the protocols. They have sanitizers, and we make sure we have a regular screening for their temperature. We ask them, have you been in contact with someone with COVID, etc. So we diversify within our business model, and we think it's actually gaining a lot of online traction because just when I left the office, we had people visiting our website from Canada, from the UK, people that are doing the Cambridge qualification. So sky's the limit.
Sky's the limit indeed. You know, so let me know this. Do you have, people that you've employed? Or because speaking about the Uber model, I'm assuming, this means people can register with you. And so how does that work with you? Do you have employees, across the country and even beyond our borders? How does that work?
Well, most of our staff complement is within Botswana because we really align with providing jobs for citizens. So we provide more than 30 to 40 jobs locally for full-time employment, where we have sales officers, we have social media. We came with somebody doing social media is there. She's doing sales. We've got legal and compliance officers. We've got, it's just the whole stuff, just to make sure that the whole system operates. Then we have our part-time tutors, which are on independent agreement. So they're tutoring on as needed basis. So if you take 2 students and you're working a full-time job, it's still fine. You can tutor after hours and on weekends. But there are some people who actually left their jobs that are actually tutoring with us full-time. So they made it into a full-time thing, but we just allow you to take as many students Monday to Sunday, offline, online. You can go to the clients' homes or have the student meet with the tutor at our centers. So,
Whoa. Now, what does your staff complement look like? Looking at the fact that you're running all these many companies, what does that look like for you?
Well, before COVID, we had 28. But we don't know what's going to happen after. I mean, our main support company, which was Native Events, which has been doing eventing like on a high degree, is one of the companies that got severely hit. And having a value chain, which is what I call how I built my businesses, is you'd have, if ultimately one gets hit, it impacts on the others. So with the transport one now currently, we are coming up with the latest motions being put up and the need to move goods and services and people around the country. We foresee that things will get better. You're looking at Nuba. We just recently launched our online platform as well. We have an e-commerce platform that allows you to buy alcohol at your convenience, whether you are at home, you know you're about to knock off at the office, but at 5 you want us to meet you by the parking lot before you leave for your house. We deliver alcohol to the people, so you don't have to leave your space and go get in a crowded space and find yourself probably in a compromising situation. So the online model is coming up well. I believe we would be able to save, if not all, majority of the staff that I used to have employed under Native Events. But on are really supporting. In a space of 2 months, we had already have a database of more than 1,000 registered accounts.
Oh, wow.
So I would say we're confident of the model. You lose one, you gain one.
Yeah.
As an entrepreneur, one thing I've learned over the last 10 years is you have to be very resilient and be very agile. So you have to adapt quickly and be able to move on.
100%, yeah.
Because business ultimately is not built on emotions, it's about thinking.
I don't know how to not get emotional with my money, you know, and something that I'm getting from you guys, and you just mentioned it right now as you were ending what you're saying, is the need to adapt as a business person, you know what I mean? Because especially looking at COVID, you brought it up, I was going to bring it up a bit later on. COVID came and everything changed. You know, I see that you guys have had to adapt, have had to, you know, to innovate and be creative, you know, with how to continue making your money in, you know, these times that we're in. What would you say, or how important would you say it is, you know, to, as much as you're focused and you know what it is, you know, what the end goal is for you, to adapt as an entrepreneur? I just want us to unpack that a bit more, because I think you just touched on it. How important is adapting and also being fluid, you know, understanding that you may want to do a particular thing, but at certain points you may have to do what you have to do until you can go back to what you would like to do, you know what I mean?
Well, I like what he said, Jorge. As an entrepreneur, you have to be flexible. You have to adapt. Now I was staying in Gauteng. If you can't adapt in Gauteng, you are not relevant. You know, whether it's a taxi, you know, you are boarding on a taxi, or you are, you know, you just have to be street smart. So that is one thing that I've learned to also implement in my business. Whatever happens, you know, most of the things, crisis that happens, it doesn't warn you. And in business, not just COVID, you know, you can, your banker, this can happen, you know, these things just happen. So you need to be very flexible, you need to be very adaptable. The first lockdown, they declared lockdown, or there's going to be lockdown in a few days. We were learning, you know, how do we still get our revenues, how do we still secure our revenues? Then we thought online. So we had to now teach our clients, our students, everything to connect online. We need to teach our parents how to pay online. Such that on this last lockdown, they said 12 o'clock, 8 a.m. the next day, we're already having lessons online. You know, and when they said lockdown is lifted, the following morning, students were coming to the center. So it's like we needed to teach our tutors, we needed to teach our clients, we needed to teach the parents and the students how to be also adaptable. So in business, it's a very important thing, because business is not like employment, sorry to say, but employment, you know what you get. If you don't meet your targets, you get fired. If you meet your targets, you get promoted. Business, you can literally wake up 3 a.m. in the morning, sleep at 11 o'clock at night, still not generate what you want, but you need to be adaptable to see, is what I'm doing really working? You need to communicate with clients. We get a lot of feedback from our e-commerce as to when you get onto a website, you click, you want to get a tutor. How long does the client stay on the website? Where do they scroll? What do they look at the most? You are on my page, you know, you saw that interview that I did with Dr. Mutoko. You know, we want to see where do the clients spend most of the time? Do they watch more videos? Is it boring? Do they move? I know, like what I've noticed now is they move a lot to our referrals. So happy customers that will refer to say, you know, line tutoring helped me, my child was there. So those are things that you need to learn on a daily basis. You need to engage with your customer on a daily basis, ask them, and then adapt. Because what a client likes today can be different 3 months down the line. You have to throw that away, you know, come, recalibrate, bring the team, guys, what can we do differently? So adaptability, flexibility is very key.
guys, let's talk access to capital, because a lot of, upcoming entrepreneurs or, business people would like to access capital, and they, state that as a hindrance. How was that for you? From what I'm hearing, it sounds like you guys bootstrapped your businesses. I didn't hear any one of you saying, like, you know what I mean? So can we just talk about that, and also, as a word of advice to aspiring entrepreneurs as well as upcoming entrepreneurs?
Well, I always say this to those that have an opportunity to always meet me at nobody's going to fund your idea. I wouldn't even fund an idea myself now.
Hey.
As I was coming up, it used to be very painful. My parents had these rich friends. They'll come by the house. I would try to tell them what I want to do. They'll just brush it off.
Brilliant ideas.
Even my parents would brush it off. But what I realized as time went on is it lies in passion. So your passion is what drives your idea to actually make sense. So for me, I had zero capital, and I believe it's the same for Tobo, but I had so much passion about what I wanted to be. So I pushed myself beyond limits all the time. Like you'd say, you'd sleep late, you wake up before everybody else. You don't live a normal 8 to 5 life. You don't sleep 8 hours. You probably sleep lesser, because you're putting all that into your plan, all that into your dream. We see things changing now. Platforms are being availed for the young upcoming youth to get money and to get certain access to capital. But I would still try to remind people that even if I was to give you money, it's very easy for you to fail. You have to have a direction. So if you don't know what you are doing, even with money, it's pointless. You understand? You have to be passionate about what you're doing and be self-driven. Nobody has to push you to ultimately reach your goal. So money really isn't the key here. The key is the spirit to survive. If you don't have it and your pockets are full, you're still going to misuse the full pockets. So
absolutely, I love that. Would you agree with that?
I resonate with his ideas. Yeah. Because entrepreneur, the game is the same.
Yeah,
the same. Whether you're doing 52 Sundays, Lion tutoring, Pullman, it's the same principles. It's the same. I think we're more of, like you said, we're first generation entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
I heard my dad, I would always get in fights with my dad. No, it's not the same. It's not the same. You're an entrepreneur. You're doing something that is being done. So as an entrepreneur, getting money, it's not really good, because the money can finish, like he's saying, but your idea will fund itself. For instance, if I'm providing a service, it's a quality service, the money is gonna come. The money is gonna come. I just have to communicate my idea, apply all the business principles. I need to make sure it gets into making it's an asset.
More
you
money.
get it.
More money.
I love that, because with handling money as well, I think whether as an entrepreneur or anybody really, there's something called instant gratification versus delayed gratification. I believe it's a discussion that we should really get into, because what I take, what I'm getting from you guys is that you are highly disciplined. You know what I mean? You understand, where your money should go, and you take care of what you need to take care of to make sure that your business survives. So can we talk about that? Because we live in they call it a microwave society. I want to do it for the gram. They should see what I've arrived. These people must know, you know what I mean? So now, how did you manage with that? You know what I mean? Can we just talk about the importance of being that discipline? Because I believe that's what it is really, more than anything.
The first thing, Ella, it's your money, and it's the business's money. That's it. I pay my salary. So even from day one, that's a concept that I always. So even if you can audit what the auditors, they'll say, you want to audit from inception. It's basic. How modi bank statement thing, whatever I want. I would swipe like that with my salary.
Card.
You get it. And then once you can apply that principle, you reverse engineer it to say, if I pay myself a salary of X amount and my business is suffering, do I really need to be paying myself that much salary? Salary so that the business can be able to. And with entrepreneurs, sometimes you pay yourself your salary, something goes bad. You've had instances where you pay your salary the same minute. Reflect the more accounting into the business. So you can't expect other people to believe in your company if you personally don't believe in it. That's why investors nowadays, they ask you, how much do you put in your business?
Yeah.
Most people buy but they want to know how committed are you. Most people will just say, I haven't put anything in my business. And how do you expect somebody else to put millions in
when
your
you can't
your
even
business?
invest in your own?
So that's the thing, separate your monies, your personal money, and separate your business accounts. Looking at $1 million in an account, to me, it doesn't do anything because it's not my money. It's line tutoring's money, or you do the salary, you do the rental, you do all of those other expenses. And then whatever at the end, it's a business principle. At the end, once you've paid everything off, including your salary, if there's anything left, you pay your investors. An entrepreneur, you pay yourself at the end.
At the very end.
At the very end.
Yeah.
I think just to add on what he's saying is, what I always say is as much as you're the first employee, by the way, you're an employee of your own dream. It's how it is. Let's switch off from saying I own.
Okay.
That sense of ownership is what kills everything. You don't own anything. You're the first line of employees. You become also the last person to get paid. But here's the smartest way to do it. You have employees, right? You pay them as per agreement of contract. Make sure that your business makes you happy. The basic needs that every person has. How does your business make you happy? As a director, as an owner of your business, let your business take care of your expenses. By the time it pays you, it doesn't even have to be a huge amount like he's saying. It only pays you what we call as pocket money. You'll ultimately find that you have no use for that money. Because one, your business can pay your rent. It can pay your utilities at home. It can pay your airtime. It can buy you a car. Our biggest problem is you want to buy yourself a car. So you'll take all the money that comes from a certain paycheck just so that you can buy yourself a car. You see where we miss it? So make sure that you are happy, but make sure that your business covers all your expenses. It pays the people.
Exactly.
And then ultimately, if there is more money in that period of a month, then it will pay you what you have agreed, but not being selfish. Regarded also that the business has to remain with a bit of cash so that it can consistently be able to run.
Exactly.
If you choke it, it won't be there in the next period of time. So take care of yourself through the business, take care of the people, then the business will take care of you.
All right. Now, I want us to take it back to the very basics. Like, let's talk about a startup. Normally, especially right now, with a lot of youth being unemployed, people are going into either self-employment or businesses not because they're passionate, but because they need to make a living. So here I am starting a company because I want to feed myself. Now, at that stage, how does that work? Like, this company exists because I want to feed myself, but at the same time, business. You know what I mean? So at the very beginning, what advice would you give to that startup, that person who's struggling? Only 5,000 in my account, because na rekisa whatever sas rekiste, na rekisa dilwana gano rekisa dijo. How does that work in the beginning? Do I use this for myself because I'm trying to make a living, and then at what point do I now transition to now business gets out hiding thing salary? You know what I mean? So I'd like us to take it just because I think that's where it begins. If at all there's an element of discipline, it probably has to begin right there. When I have 500 before going 500,000 or $1 million. So let's talk about that 500 or 5,000. How does it work at that point?
Yeah, I used to watch a lot of with my sister. We used to watch a lot of Tipo Paerle Rehola. And there was these cartoons where they used to say you have 3 wishes. The genie in the bottle, you have three wishes. So I used to ask my sister, why is it that all of these people are using their 3 wishes and not on the 3rd wish say, I wish I had 10 more wishes? You get it?
Yeah.
So that is a concept that has always stayed with me ever since Kilemunyinyana. Why is it that first wish ke batla koloi, second wish ke batla ntlo, third wish ke batla madi? But why don't you say I want this and this? On your 3rd wish say I want 10 more wishes.
Oh yeah.
It's the same thing with money. It's the same thing with money. You have 500 pula. You're gonna use all of it for yourself. So you're gonna eat it all at once. But if you are growth minded, you have 500 in your account, you can say, okay, maybe I need 200 for my expenses because I have to live, I have to eat. But the 300 can push me so that next month this 300 can double, can be 600. Next month you have 600, it doubles, 1.2 doubles, 2.4. before you know it, you are on that growth. So as an entrepreneur, you always, even if you have $1 million in your account, you have to always be thinking about the next financial year. That's why at Lion Tutor, I sit down with my accounts officers, we need to be budgeting. We need to budget for the next quarter. We need to budget for the next financial year. We need to budget for the next 10 years, 20 years, 30 years.
Yeah.
You get it?
Yeah.
So as an entrepreneur, you have to always think, how do I make my 500 pula go a long way? How do I make my 5,000 go a long way? The million go a long way. The 2 million, 10 million. 10 million, 20 million.
100%.
Billion. That's why these guys are never... Right now you saw I think Bezos. He said 200 billion. And I think that's the most anyone has ever been.
100%, yeah.
He didn't stop at being the world's richest person.
Yeah.
He just
still
kept
pushing,
going on. And he solves problems. I always watch his interviews. He's never about, I want to make $1 billion. I want to make, He's always about, I want to solve people's problems.
Yeah.
How do I get food to your, to your state in 24 hours?
Yeah.
How do I get somebody in Botswana to buy something online? Holy lockdown, you see, the logistical. I think that is what he's also doing.
Absolutely.
Bob Bezos, they're always thinking, how do you solve people's problems?
Yeah.
That's all you have to be thinking about. How do I make my 500 solve 10 people's problems? How do I make my 1 million solve Botswana's problems?
Absolutely. Now, you guys have been able to set yourselves apart, differentiate yourself, even within industries that, I think tutoring, you didn't invent tutoring really.
Yeah.
You are not the first person to go into the event management business, the logistics business, you name it.
100%.
But for some reason, you've been able to set yourselves apart. Can we talk about that? Especially right now, we're pushing BW, The reason we're here is to encourage people to consume locally produced products, services, and initiatives. But there's also taking responsibility, responsibility that has to be taken by that service provider, right?
Yeah.
So can we now talk about that? How do I set myself apart? What goes into making sure that I always at every point deliver, the best quality products, the best quality service to my consumers? Because I believe this is what has literally, kept you guys afloat and set you guys apart.
Quite an interesting topic. You see, I'm for the Pusha BW motion, proudly Motswana. Having been in business for 10 years has taught me so many things. During our time when we were doing what we're doing, there wasn't so many campaigns around, let's support local. Nowadays, I think it's easy. I just have to bottle water and you guys must buy it. But that's where the problem is.
Chicken.
Because that is going to dilute the whole essence of why you need to be in business. Every Jack and Jill will wake up today and think, if I have a BW product, I'm going to be considered relevant in the market.
I'm entitled to support.
Like, you get it. So I think we have to come up with measures that really have to scale each and every business. We have to profile businesses. So I'll give you an instance. You might be passionate about decor. I've been doing events for 10 years. You start today, and your expectation is, if tomorrow BITC has a job,
it is sunny and 24 degrees right now.
Your phone misses you. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So if BITC tomorrow has a job, certain expertise will be put there in terms of requirements, right? I put in the tender, you put in the tender.
Yeah.
I get the job. The very first thing you do is, because there's been an open door policy, you want to know why I've been given the job. You are missing the whole degree that there were certain requirements that may have been put there, or certain standards. So you'll bottle water, he will bottle water. He's been bottling water, he has a purification plant, he has all measures put in place, people's health and safety, everything there. He's been doing water for 5 years. 2 minutes you are bottling water. You are always going to be at loggerheads trying to figure out, how did Tobo get the job? So I always compare it to construction. We need to grade businesses such that there's a level where you can tell, and then Tobo will know that there's a level where I can go to Khawana, so that Khawana also has a chance to graduate to my level. You understand? So as much as we're going to give everybody an opportunity, also these young upcoming entrepreneurs, they must understand that you have to be quality orientated. You have to go through all the steps for you to reach a certain height. You can't wake up today and you are already there. It requires a lot of hard work, a lot of tears, and everything has to be put in there. So if we can also work on those standards, then we'll also have a fair fair opportunity of play.
100%. Do you have anything to add to that?
Well, I think, like you're saying, about a Pusha BW, I'm not just gonna buy a product because it got the Pusha BW. And the packaging is not good, and it's expired, and all of that.
Yeah.
So look, now we need to. It's a good initiative, but we need to rise up to the plate. We need to know what we're competing with a global ecosystem. We're in a global ecosystem. There's a ban on the
bakery.
No, somebody has to provide those similar brands of biscuits to come to the same plate, such that they are either the same as your tennis biscuits or even better.
Yeah.
You get it. But I'm not just gonna buy that Pusha BW. That's how the clients actually think. They don't just want to say, no, let me support local. And then at the end of the day, we have to rise up to the occasion. Make sure that your product is a quality product. You solve your clients' problems. You even ask for feedback. If I do a job, let's say I tutor Newman's daughter, I have to ask Newman, how did you find the service? Where can I improve?
Yeah.
But Botswana, if Newman comes, at hey, can I tutor ABCD? Newman is always negative. No, he's not negative. He's actually trying to help me to actually become better. Then if I can provide for Newman, I can provide for Gauna, I can provide for Makho, I get standard. You can even export, because right now we're even competing with the schools, because the schools are not as agile as we are. The lockdown, the following morning, the students are there, they are learning. We even have platforms where the student can engage with the tutor. Real time. The student is writing, the tutor can see what the student is writing, the tutor can mark from their side. And it completely eliminates that uncertainty, online, you get it?
Yeah.
So we need to rise to the occasion.
Absolutely. Now, I believe no man is an island, guys. Like, you guys are brilliant. You're Africa's most revolutionary minds. You're innovative. You are top 30 under 30. But, they say your network is your net worth.
Yeah.
Do you guys have mentors? Do you have people who you aspire to be like, people who are supporting you guys in your journeys? You know what I mean? So let's just talk about that. Do you have mentors? What are you doing to develop yourselves as leaders? You know what I mean? Who are you surrounding yourselves with?
What's a new man?
Because, like I'm saying, it can't all be you. Of course it is you. We're not taking away from your brilliance, but do you have anybody who's a sounding board? Do you have people whose brains you pick? How important is mentorship, or having a network of people who are helping build this brand, as well as the numerous brands that you're building?
Yeah, well, I've never had a mentor, honestly, but I'll tell you, I've been blessed in the previous years to be able to employ certain people of a certain caliber. I like bouncing ideas and empowering people. So I'm one person it's easy for me to relinquish power or authority to somebody who can relate. So I like to empower my employees. I would hire you. Sure, you are new, but within a certain period of time, I'll put you to task that I want to see what you can do. If you're to be me, what would you do? I have business partners in other businesses that I have, and what I like to do is bounce ideas. More than anything, I love to bounce ideas. What I do in my spare time, I watch business influential documentaries. I like watching real life experiences as compared to people that will just be watching so many series on Netflix for their own purposes, whatever. I love documentaries that make sense to me. So I'm a very visual person. I learn quickly by looking at what people do. Then I would go to the office and I'll try to put it into my own scenario and then bounce it within the people that I work around. So ideally, that's how my idea bounces back as something now that makes sense, that is ready to go to market for testing. And we normally don't have fear in terms of testing and also getting your experience as a client, like he said. When we did the new bar online, we had it for like about 3 weeks without people knowing, but we had people that were customers that were actually giving us feedback. Can you improve on this? Can you improve on that? And like he's saying, feedback in business is very important. And the negative one is actually very important.
Even more important.
You understand?
Yes,
it's always good to be told you're not doing something right. because it levitates you to the next degree.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I like bouncing things off people.
Yeah. So you do
Yeah.
appreciate that, it can't just be a one-man show.
Yeah.
Mentorship?
Yeah, well, for me, I have different. I wouldn't want to call them mentor. It's similar to him. I don't like formalizing to say you're a mentor. It's usually just over pizza. I've got my pastor, the youth pastor at my church, so he keeps me in check with spiritual issues. My wife, she's also helping with. I'm a A-type personality, so I just come, I don't care about feelings. So my wife always tells me, oh, no, she knows how to read people, so she'll look at somebody's face or, hey, the people, no, and she could see the expressions, but no, next time, and all of that. So I have different people. Business also, I have somebody who always helps me. I send them our financials, they check, or hey, you are spending too much on this, or you're not spending enough on this. So I have sort of a support system. Even my parents also, that they help me with certain things, that I need help with, So I don't just look at one person. I really appreciate people's strengths. So I feed off other people's strengths.
Absolutely. And if there was one book that you would single out and say, it has been an inspiration, you mentioned a book when you started, actually.
Yeah, Rich Kid, Smart Kid.
Smart Kid, actually.
Yeah.
So I think let's just go into reading, because I believe it's also something that a lot of successful, like a lot of greats, credit reading as well as one of those things that, has inspired them, and they've gotten lessons from. So if there's one book, let's start with you. I don't know whether it's still Rich Kid, Smart Kid, or if there's any other,
Well, it is. For me right now, I get people buying me books. I buy books. I just don't have time. Like I said, I'm a visual person. For me, watching Shark Tank or Dragon's Den is easier than reading the book.
Okay.
You understand?
Yeah,
For me to listen to a small clip for 7 minutes of Vusi Tembekwayo, it completely changes the next episode for me, rather than to sit down and read books.
Yeah.
I do try. I want to start reading. But as far as now, the only book that I've really enjoyed reading in terms of entrepreneurship is Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Kid, Smart Kid.
Yeah. All right. And
I read a lot. I read a lot. Where's the camera? I want to even tell the students to read a lot.
Yeah, I can also imagine in your line of work.
That's again, reading is something very, very dear to me. Like, I want to even talk to the kids at home, or they need to read, whatever book that you can find yourselves. I used to read from standard 3, that's when I really had the passion for reading. I used to read the book at older students. And now the current one I'm reading is the 5 a.m. Club. I read Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. In just a period of, 8 months, I've read Soar by T.D. Jakes. So I really like getting, because like mentorship, you can get somebody's ideas through reading a book. I don't have to meet T.D. Jakes in an interview like this. I don't have to meet Malcolm Gladwell. But
to learn from them.
And reading is so important because they actually break down. It's 400 pages where they actually break down, in depth. And I don't read a book. I know most people, but I read a book, one book every week. I'm not that type. I take a book for the whole month and I make notes. So you see in most of the books that I'm reading, I take notes, I highlight. That's why you can't you can't borrow my books. Because highlight diagrams. Sometimes I even put scriptures. Sometimes I even cross-reference books to say, I heard this idea from T.D. Jakes, which is similar to Yara Vusi Tembekwayo. I saw this, so I really read a lot.
Absolutely. No, I can only imagine how I wish we could have, gotten a chance to engage with you, to interact with you, and get what your thoughts are on the conversation we're having. But of course, please feel free to comment, feel free to share the conversation, with your network, with your friends, family, colleagues. And we're running out of time, and I really appreciate the fact that you came out today, on the Pusha BW Live Sessions, guys. If there was one thing that you could leave our viewers with today, what would it be, seeing that you guys are the creme de la creme? There's just so many. I know for a fact you've shared so many gems throughout, our conversation today. But what would your last word be to our viewers this morning?
Yeah, well, it's Pusha BW, like we can see that, let's push Botswana. Let's make sure we buy and support local. If there's something that is identical, any product, any service, support a local. You have governments like Japan. Apparently Japan used to sponsor Toyota for the longest period of time. It wasn't doing well financially. Even the car model wasn't as good as Ford at the time. But look at Toyota nowadays, because it took the government, it took the people to believe in their own. So let's believe in one another, let's push a BW, let's make sure we are global citizens.
Yeah.
You should be able to do business with someone in Ghana or in Morocco or in South Africa or in UK, think global, don't just think local, think global. Push a BW, and all the best to the entrepreneurs.
100%. Start. You may start local, but think global.
Global.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Lumen?
Well, for me, I think it's an experience I had last week Friday. So I had a chance to go to Mainmore. There's a diamond pack there that is done by a certain creative called Karo Monareng. So I just passed by just to get an experience of exactly what's been happening there, because he had told me before he started the idea, but I've never got the chance to be part of it. I met three young entrepreneurs, 2 ladies and a gentleman who does coffee. The other lady does what you call gel screen protector. So, it's so informal like that, just sitting on chairs there. Then when you come there, they'll be like, "Hi, can I tell you what I do?" So I was just so nice to even listen. I know most people will be like, I'm busy, I don't want to listen to that. So I would really say, for the Push Up BW, let's give these young people a chance across our parastatals, our government offices, and just even individually. What I got to sit down with the 3 of them and realize is they have an idea. I'm one person who believes not every idea can be turned into money. But what I've seen with them is they've got a drive to start. For them to wake up every morning, leave their houses and go to that place, it means they've got something in them.
Yeah.
And their biggest challenge when I kept on asking them questions is, one, the financial separation. They don't know anything about that. They bank and they use for whatever they need to use it for. I asked them, do you keep receipts? Do you know your cost input into these things that you're doing? They don't know. What happens with your money? We spend it.
We're making it so we can spend it.
So, my advice to everybody, and even them, what I said was, I feel we need to start from somewhere.
Yeah.
As much as we're going to avail funds, but we need to go back. These kids have to be taught how important financial literacy is in business. Keeping every receipt of every transaction that you are making is very important. You go buy that gel for 20 pula, you charge me 200 to put the screen. Go back home later and try to realize your margins. If I'm charging 200 and I'm buying my cost input are X and Y, what's my profit? That will also help you to know how much you need to pay yourself and how much the business needs to run on. So those are basic things. I started off by keeping receipts. Keep receipts right.
Exactly.
Have a small bookkeeping journal. It will change your health completely.
100%. Now, I know you've actually even got I don't know whether to call it a blog on Facebook, but you are going the extra mile in sharing these. So please just let people know where they can get hold of you, where they can interact with you for more of these brilliant ideas.
Okay. I've got a business dedicated platform on social media, Facebook primarily. It's called Think Business. I use it to share insights, experiences, and pretty much what I feel is the right approach to doing certain things. I wouldn't say I am yet, a guru at it, but between me and the people that interact, it's always a knowledge-based platform. And then my personal platform, Newman T. Paul, on social media across all platforms, I do also sometimes just write words of encouragement in terms of business.
Don't you always? Thobo, where do people get hold of you? How do people get to interact with you? And most importantly, also for people who like to take up Lion tutoring, where do they find you?
We're all in the social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at Lion Tutoring. And then you can, if you just want a tutor, you can just Google tutors in Botswana. We've actually optimized the site so much that if you just say tutors in Botswana, we're always on top. So it used to be one of our competitors, which is a global company. But nowadays, Hello Tutors in Botswana, we are the first one there. But you can just say Lion Tutoring, and then when you're on the site, you can see other people's comments, reviews. If we've tutored your child, leave your comments and reviews there. You can book the tutor online, you can pay online. Once you download our app also, it's on the Google Play Store. You just say Lion Tutoring. Then you can be able to see the tutors in your location. So you can just see the faces of the tutor. You click your tutor, you see the profile. You can even pay at the end of the process. then we send the tutor to your home in 24 hours. So that is basically, and then my personal one is at Tobo Khatola on social media. But I always like lion tutoring first.
Okay, Pusha brand, lion tutoring it is. Guys, thank you very much for having joined me today. Aspiring entrepreneur, that's what you said you are. Newman, yes, still learning, and Tobo, CEO and founder of Lion Tutoring. Guys, thank you so much for also just sharing so much with us. These are two of Africa's most revolutionary and disruptive minds. They've made it to the Forbes Africa Top 30 under 30, guys. Thank you once again for having joined us, and I certainly hope that leaving you inspired and ready to go out there and take on the world. Over and above that, at Push and BW, let's use our local products, services, as well as initiatives, guys. Until we meet again next time, thank you very much for having joined us. The next 2 weeks, you're going to meet up with my boy, Joey Mutibi, as well as Kathy right after that. Guys, it has been fantastic. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.